कुंज बिहारी जयो राधा माधव कुंज बिहारी गोपी जना वल्लभा गिरिवरधारी जय गोपी जना वल्लभा गिरिवरधारी यशोदानंदन ब्रज जन रंजन यशोदानंदन ब्रज जन रंजन यमुना तीरावनचारी यमुना तीरावनचारी जय राधा माधव कुंज बिहारी श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर श्रीवासदि गौर भक्तवृंद प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर श्रीवासदि गौर भक्तवृंद हरे कृष्ण 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे हरे जय राधा गोविंद राधा गोविंद राधे जय प्रभुपद जय प्रभुपद English. Hari bol, English. English. Thank you. We are reading from Srimad Bhagavatam, first canto, chapter number 8, verse number 36. Shrinvanti gayanti grinanti abhikshnaṣā smaranti nandanti tavehitam janaha ta eva pashyanti achirena tavakam bhava pravaha aparamam padambujam Shrinvanti gayanti grinanti abhikshnaṣā smaranti nandanti tavehitam janaha ta eva pashyanti achirena tavakam bhava pravaha aparamam padambujam Shrinvanti gayanti grinanti abhikshnaṣā smaranti nandanti tavehitam janaha ta eva pashyanti achirena tavakam bhava pravaha aparamam padambujam Mataji's. Thank you very much. Shrinvanti, hear, gayanti, chant, grinanti, take, abhikshnaṣā, continuously, smaranti, remember, nandanti, take pleasure, tava, your, ihitam, activities, janaha, people in general, te, they, eva, certainly, pashyanti, can see, achirena, very soon, tavakam, your, bhava pravaha, the current of rebirth, uparamam, cessation, pada ambujam, lotus feet. Translation and purport by His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada. O Krishna, those who continuously hear, chant, and repeat your transcendental activities or take pleasure in others doing so certainly see your lotus feet, which alone can stop the repetition of birth and death. The Supreme Lord Sri Krishna cannot be seen by our present conditional vision. In order to see him, one has to change his present vision by developing a different condition of life full of spontaneous love of Godhead. When Sri Krishna was personally present on the face of the globe, not everyone could see him as the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Materialists like Ravana, Hiranyakashipu, Kamsa, Jarasan, and Shishupal were highly qualified personalities by acquisition of material assets, but they were unable to appreciate the presence of the Lord. Therefore, even though the Lord may be present before our eyes, it is not possible to see him unless we have the necessary vision. This necessary qualification is developed by the process of devotional service only, beginning with hearing about the Lord from the right sources. The Bhagavad Gita is one of the popular literatures which are generally heard, chanted, repeated, etc., by the people in general. But in spite of such hearing, etc., sometimes it is experienced that the performer of such devotional service does not see the Lord eye to eye. The reason is that the first item, Shravan, is important. If hearing from the right source, it acts very quickly. Generally, people hear from unauthorized persons. Such unauthorized persons may be very learned by academic qualifications, but because they do not follow the principles of devotional service, hearing from them becomes a sheer waste of time. Sometimes the texts are interpreted fashionably to suit their own purposes. Therefore, first one should select a competent and bona fide speaker and then hear from him. When the hearing process is perfect and complete, the other processes become automatically perfect in their own way. Om Ajnanatimirandhasya Jnananjanashalakaya Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Shri Chaitanya Manobhishtam Sthapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamayam Dadati Swapadantikam Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Yuta Padakamalam Shri Gurun Vaishnavanscha Shri Rupam Sagrajatam Sagana Raghunathanvitam Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadutam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padan Sagana Lalita Shri Vishakhanvitamscha Namo Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prasthaya Bhutale Srimate Bhakti Vedanta Swami Namine Namaste Saraswati Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvisesha Shunyavadi Parshatya Dishakarine Namo Mahavadanyaya Krishna Prema Pradayate Krishnaya Krishna Chaitanya Namine Gauratishe Namaha Panchatattvatmakam Krishnam Bhakta Rupa Swarupakam Bhaktavataram Bhaktakyam Namami Bhakta Shaktikam He Krishna Karuna Sindhu Deenabandho Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostute Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vrishabhanusute Devi Pranamami Haripriye Vancha Kalpatarubhyascha Kripa Sindhubhyaeva cha Patithanam Bhavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shivasadi Gaur Bhaktavrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. So we welcome all of you to Sri Sri Radha Govinda Dev Temple for today's Bhagavatam class. We are reading from the first canto of the Srimad Bhagavatam, 8th chapter, verse number 36, where Kunti Maharani is, this 8th chapter is dedicated to the prayers of Kunti Maharani. So we have been discussing over the last couple of weeks the prayers of Kunti Maharani. When Krishna, and first of all, thank you to the temple management for allowing me to speak today. So when Krishna was leaving Hastinapur after the war, Kunti Maharani felt very unhappy, and she was afraid that with the Lord not present with them, there is a chance that they may forget the Lord. So when everything wonderful is going on with our lives, generally we tend to forget the Lord. And when we have difficulties in our life, we try to remember the Lord, which is natural. But here, and most of us, when we come in front of the Lord, we try to pray to the Lord to help us overcome our obstacles, which is the right way. But here, in one of the prayers, Kunti Maharani is praying that let these obstacles come again and again in my life. So that is the next, or probably the highest level of bhakti which one can observe. And she gives the reason that because these difficulties are there, we are able to remember you. So, continuing in the same mood, she is glorifying the Supreme Lord in various ways about Janma Karma Chame Divyam Evam Yoveti Tattvataha. So, Krishna's birth and Krishna's activities are Divyam. So, one who speaks and hears about them, becomes purified. And therefore, Kunti Maharani speaks about the glories of Sri Krishna. And at one point she speaks this verse. And this verse says, those who continuously hear, chant and repeat your transcendental activities or take pleasure in others doing so, certainly see your lotus feet, which alone can stop the repetition of birth and death. So the living entity keeps traveling through the 8.4 million species of life, 8.4 million species of consciousness, or 8.4 million species of bodies. So this verse explains how just by hearing and chanting the names of God, or names of Krishna, and also by seeing others, by taking pleasure in others doing so. So today in our class we will try to cover the significance of bhakti in our lives, how bhakti is unique, and also we will see the aspect which does not allow us to flourish in bhakti. So in the purport, Srila Prabhupada says that it is very important to know the signs of God favorably, rather than seeing Him directly face to face. So many times people want to see God, but they don't know that God exists everywhere. God is present in their own heart. And unless we know the signs of God, we will not be able to see Him even if He comes in front of us. The examples which is given in the purport are Ravana, Kamsa, Shishupal. So if we take each example, like for example Ravana, kidnapping Mother Sita was a big mistake. But then he had so many chances to correct that mistake. And despite seeing everybody getting killed in front of him, and he was the last person to be killed by Ram, still he could not give up his ego. Ram till the end, till before the last war also, he said, if Ravana comes tomorrow in front of me and surrenders, I will accept him. Still, Ravana could not understand who Lord Ram was. If one logically thinks, back that he only asked for a boon that he cannot be killed by anybody except human beings and monkeys, and here he was getting destroyed by human beings and monkeys. Still, he could not understand. So still, when he was seeing Lord Ram, he was not able to understand. Kamsa, nobody could see Krishna in everything as Kamsa did. How many of you can see Krishna in Prasadam? Kamsa could see Krishna in Prasadam. As soon as he got his thali, Chappan Bhog thali, he could see Krishna in each vati. आप लोग ने राजधानी के थाली खाया होगा. वो खाने नहीं देते हैं, लेकिन हमेशा आपके सिर पे ही नाचते रहते हैं. कुछ खाने लग गए तो उसके पीछे पीछे आ जाते हैं, और चाहिए और चाहिए. So in each katori, Kamsa could see Krishna. Shishupal, he had the capacity to glorify Krishna again and again in a different way. Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur used to say that any paper which mentions Lord Krishna's name, even in a blasphemous manner, is still better, rather than a paper which is not mentioning anything about Krishna. At least when they are reading a newspaper which is blaspheming Krishna, they will hear the word Krishna. So in this way, Shishupal, again and again and again, he was blaspheming the Lord. And he did not realize the power of blaspheming the Lord came from the Lord himself. Hiranyakashipu, he could not understand that how his own son Prahlad can be so much devoted to Vishnu. If one used his logic and intelligence, one could have easily understood. He could have understood that this boy is special. He's born in my clan, he's born in my kul, but this boy is special. He is not like me. So there must be something to it. So he could not use his intelligence. And when Lord Nrsimhadev came out of the pillar, something extraordinary like that happening, still he could not understand. Why? And Duryodhan, another classic example. Despite Krishna showing the Ardha Virata Roop to him, to all the people in the court of Hastinapur, when Krishna went as a peace messenger, still Duryodhan could not understand. He thought Krishna is a magician. ये तो चालू चीज है, ऐसा क्या है इसमें? Nowadays you see many reels of magicians. They explain to you how they do the trick. Correct, no? Earlier you used to think, अरे यार ऐसे कैसे हो सकता है? But now you can understand how they are doing. It's all the हाथ का कमाल. So Duryodhan thought that it is something like that. Maybe Krishna is hiding some hands here and there, some faces here and there, some fire element, some there, fire extinguisher, something, धुआं छोड़ रहा है. So Duryodhan used his intelligence in a different direction. So when the intelligence of a living entity is covered by ignorance of the Supreme Lord, one cannot understand even when the Lord comes in front of you. And that is the reason that one should understand the signs of God favorably. If you see, when Hiranyaksha died, Hiranyakashipu gave a wonderful philosophical Bhagavatam class about the signs of the soul. And if you hear that class, you will feel, wow, what a wonderful speaker Hiranyakashipu is. And Kamsa could see Krishna everywhere, such a highly elevated devotee. He could see Krishna in his bed, he could see Krishna in his prasad, he could see Krishna in washroom, he could see Krishna in water, in air, fire, everywhere. So what is the difference? So in the Nectar of Devotion, the verse comes, Anya Abhilashita Shunyam, Jnana Karmadi Anavritam, Anukulyena Krishna Anushilanam Bhakti. So the bhakti which we practice should be anukul, it should be favorable for bhakti. So what is the necessary qualification to understand God? The Bhagavad Gita explains, Bhaktya mam abhijananti yavan yas chasmi tattvataha tato mam tattvato nyatva vishate tad anantaram. Only one can understand the Supreme Personality as He is, only by devotional service, by bhakti. And when one is in full consciousness of the Supreme by such devotion, only such a person can enter into the kingdom of God and see the Lord face to face. Of course, when we come to ISKCON temples or you go to any other temple of Vishnu or Krishna, you can see the Lord in the deity form. The Lord, in His merciful compassion, He comes down or He descends into the Archa Vigraha. But if you continue this process of bhakti, you can see, Prabhupada gives the assurance that one can see the Lord eye to eye, face to face. And therefore, the process of deity worship allows us to develop that mood of seeing the Lord face to face, of serving the Lord directly. And Srila Prabhupada mentioned in the purport that when you are gaining knowledge, you have to gain knowledge from the right source. So that is very critical. Yes, we may have interest in understanding who the Supreme Lord is, who the Absolute Truth is, but generally, most people end up hearing from the wrong source and therefore they get bewildered. So Prabhupada gives the example of milk touched by the lips of a serpent. Though the milk is considered to be a very good food product, but if it is touched by the lips of a serpent, it becomes poisonous. So similarly, many times when people hear Srimad Bhagavatam or Ram Katha from people who are not bona fide, the effect of the Katha is not fully taken in, or it could have a negative effect or it could have a poisonous effect. Therefore, it is very important for three things to align, that is Guru, Sadhu and Shastra. So when these three things align and we hear from the bona fide representatives, when we hear from the bona fide Guru, when we have the sadhus who follow the Guru and the scriptures, so in this way we can be able to understand the signs of God in the right way. And Srila Prabhupada ends the purport by saying that how two scriptures stand out, which is Srimad Bhagavad Gita, the scripture spoken by God, and Srimad Bhagavatam, the scripture spoken about God. And how Srimad Bhagavatam systematically, through the 10 topics it covers from Canto 1 to Canto 12, takes the sadhaka from ground zero to the topmost elevation, where one can see the Lord face to face. And that example through the life of the gopis. So this is what Srila Prabhupada covers in the purport. Now Shravanam, through the bhakti, all of you know that bhakti has 9 processes, starting from Shravanam, Kirtanam, Vishnu Smaranam. So generally, the first 3 are very critical, and especially the first 2 are the most critical. Shravanam and Kirtanam leads to Vishnu Smaranam. There's a very famous story of Srila Prabhupada when he had been to the yatra which was taken by Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur. So yatra reached Koshi, and Srila Prabhupada, Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur was to give a class. The option was that devotees can go and see Lord Sesashai in Koshi. So when Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur was giving the class, not many were present, but Abhay Charan was there. So Abhay Charan felt that what is the point in going and seeing the darshan of Sesashai if I don't know who God himself is? So let me hear from my Guru. And he stayed back, and later when Srila Prabhupada's name was recommended for initiation, Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur had noted, yes, he does not go away, he likes to listen. So it is very important for us to understand, as sadhakas, we may have a lot of services around us which we may excel, like book distribution, fund collection, deity worship, singing for kirtan, etc., life membership. But the most important duty of a sadhaka towards his guru and towards the parampara is to hear regularly. Yes, practical service is definitely important, but when you hear and then you do practical service, then it is much better. Why? Because the chances of developing a clear understanding is more better. Why Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur said he will not go away? Because he likes to hear. So a person, if you want to have a long lasting relationship in the process of bhakti towards the Supreme Lord Sri Krishna, one has to develop attachment to hear about the Supreme Lord and chant his names. And most important point, when you hear continuously, you develop a resilience, you develop a system in your life where it helps you to overcome obstacles in the path of bhakti. A person who does not hear, when he faces obstacles in his life, he will falter and he may go away because he feels that there is too much obstacles despite me doing bhakti. What is the point in doing bhakti? So when a person does not see the complete picture and faces obstacles in his life for some time temporarily, because he has not heard, he may go away. All of you know that path of bhakti is like a creeper in the heart, which is in the form of a seed. So obstacles in bhakti are like weeds which grow alongside the creeper. They look like the creeper in color, complexion, shape, but actually they are, weeds which actually strangle the creeper of bhakti, and they come in the form of the 6 anarthas. So in the Nectar of Devotion, there is a beautiful verse which says, Krati sadhya bhavet sadhya bhavasa sadhana abhiddha nitya siddhasya bhavasya prakrityam hridi sadhyata. When transcendental devotional service by which love for Krishna is attained is executed by the senses, it is called as sadhana bhakti, or regulative discharge of devotional service. Such devotional service exists within the heart of every living entity. The awakening of this eternal devotion is the potentiality of devotional service in practice. So, from the Chaitanya Charitamrita, you all know this beautiful verse Nitya Siddha Krishna Prema Sadhya Kabunai Shravanadi Shuddha Chitta Karay Uday. That love of God is present in everybody's heart in a dormant state. So, what does the process of Shravan do? It wakes up that person. It awakens that dormant love within our heart, by which one starts, hearing. When you hear, one starts understanding the signs of God and utilizes his senses in service of God. It is the process of activation of the senses. And it is like watering the root of a tree, that weed which is there in the heart, the seed of bhakti which is there in the heart. When you water it with the process of hearing and chanting, that seed slowly starts growing. The more you hear, the more you chant, the faster the bhakti grows. And therefore you will see that when devotees come to the process in ISKCON specifically, when you compare devotees who come to ISKCON and you compare devotees who go to other organizations, you will see that a person who comes to ISKCON, his progress becomes much faster. Why? Because there is Bhagavatam class on a daily basis. There is a hearing process on a daily basis. There is actual service. Devotional service is a practical process. There are services where you can engage yourself in God's service. So, sadhana bhakti means engagement of services. And again, the nectar of devotion gives this beautiful verse, Sarvapadi vinirmuktam tat parve nirmalam rishikesha rishikena sevanam bhakti ruchyate. Devotional service means engaging our senses in the service of the Lord, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, the Master of all senses. When the spirit soul renders service unto him, two things happen. One is Sarva Upadi Vinirmuktam. You get free from the bodily designations. Because when you are hearing from the Srimad Bhagavatam and Bhagavad Gita, the knowledge directly connects to the soul, not the body. And therefore, the more you hear, the more the bodily designations, identifying your bodily designation comes down. The whole problem in this material world starts with us, that we identify ourselves with the body, not with our soul. So first, when you keep hearing, your designation with your body, your understanding that you are this body diminishes, keeps diminishing. The more you hear, keeps diminishing. And number two, because you engage your senses in bhakti, in devotional service, in various activities, in the cleaning the temple of the Lord, worshipping the Lord, offering flowers to the Lord, there are 64 elements mentioned in the nectar of devotion. Out of which Srila Prabhupada says that morning program covers how many? 50. 50 aspects of bhakti are covered in the morning program. So from 5 o'clock to 10 o'clock, power punched 50 aspects are covered. I was seeing Prabhuji dancing, jubilantly in the kirtan. So one aspect is dancing in front of the Lord in a happy state, covered. Offering flowers to the Lord or his devotees. We do Guru Puja, we do darshan in the morning, 7:30, Shringar darshan, when you offer flowers, seeing the beautiful form of the Lord. So, in this way, all the aspects of 64 elements, when you engage your senses, what happens? The senses become purified, शुद्ध हो जाते हैं. And therefore, with those purified senses and by consistently hearing, uh, what happens is your mind and intelligence also gets purified. The mind is the king of the senses. There are 5 working senses and there is 5 knowledge acquiring senses. But mind is above that. It is a very sensitive as well as adamant entity. But Krishna explains that by constant detachment and by practice, one can control the mind. And therefore, it requires the right atmosphere, the right spiritual atmosphere. And therefore, coming to temple regularly, hearing in association of devotees, and chanting and dancing in front of the deities creates the right atmosphere for the mind and the senses to get purified. And Srila Prabhupada said that we should understand the philosophy from different angles of vision. And the ISKCON movement is meant to make men independently thoughtful. So it's not that ISKCON is an organization which programs people. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. It's not a program. There is a bhav. And therefore, developing the right balance of knowledge and practical service is extremely important. Reading scriptures, Shastra, regularly is like worshipping the Lord with our intelligence. We all have intelligence. So, how do you worship the Lord by your intelligence? By reading scriptures. So, when you read the Shastra regularly, like especially the Bhagavad Gita and Srimad Bhagavatam, you can immediately, feel the difference in your life, and Krishna accepts that worship. And bhakti is not dependent on any other yogic process. Example, one may be very pious but may not become a devotee or a bhakta. We have seen many cases in India that people go regularly to temples, but because they don't hear regularly from a bona fide source, the bhakti is not awakened within the heart. Only dharma, artha, kama, moksha. These 4 purusharthas are there, they practice. But bhakti is beyond that. So hearing again is so critical. And one may be very impious, but can easily become a bhakta. And in ISKCON, we have seen so many cases. Simple example, when the Rath Yatra of 1967, San Francisco, first Rath Yatra was supposed to happen. Shyam Sundar Prabhu was making the Jagannath Rath Yatra cart. And he was doing it all alone. He did not have anybody to help. So, one young American boy came and was passing. And he asked, "What are you doing?" He said, "I'm building a cart for Lord Jagannath." So he said, "Can I help? I know some carpentry." "Yes, sure." And he started hammering nails, making the cart. And lo and behold, you know who's that American boy? His Holiness Jayapratak Swami. So that is the power of bhakti. So we don't know what fortune we have been given. So, bhakti process is also applicable to all. You can see today, uh, you know, Americans, Europeans, Ukrainian, Russians, Chinese, Thailand, everybody, there is no differentiation between caste and creed. At one point of time, even Charles Sobraj was hiding in Jew temple. Those who, the younger generation may not know who's Charles Sobraj. Charles Sobraj was one at point a great criminal. And in Jew temple, that yellow brahmachari dress is there. So it came in the newspaper that Charles Sobraj was wearing a yellow brahmachari dress with shaven head and he was sitting in Jew temple. So ISKCON is one organization which does not check the credentials of anybody entering into this movement. आपसे किसी ने पूछा कि आपके पास कितना बैंक बैलेंस है तो ये आप भक्ति कर सकते हैं? नहीं. That is the greatness of Srila Prabhupada, that everybody, anybody and anyone is allowed. Srila Prabhupada in his purport to the Hare Krishna mantra, he says even a dog can chant Hare Krishna. So all have access to bhakti. That is the beautiful thing about bhakti process. Bhakti is very rare. It is elusive and it is beyond matter. And most important aspect is you cannot, a person who is sleeping cannot wake by himself. Correct, no? Narayan Rishi Prabhu wakes. He doesn't need an alarm. You take alarm? To even wake up, we need alarm. To imagine to wake up from the mode of ignorance, you need somebody's assistance. Even Narad Muni needed assistance of the saints who came there, and he ate the Mahaprasad. So when he ate the Mahaprasad, his consciousness changed. So again he got assistance, and then he became a touchstone. He converted Ratnakar to Valmiki. He guided Dhruv Maharaj. He guided Mrigari the hunter. So all these great personalities, imagine Valmiki, from where he was and what he became. So you need an external source to inject this knowledge. There was a great saint called Rasikanand in the 16th century, who all we know that he converted a mad elephant into a devotee. The elephant was killing so many people, but Rasikanand just chanted the Mahamantra, and with tears in his eyes, the elephant fell down at Rasikanand's feet and it circumambulated him. And Rasikanand initiated the elephant and named him Sri Gopal. So even an animal can participate in the process of bhakti. Another example which Narada Puran gives is that there were two drunkards who were, dancing in a Vishnu temple, and they were raising sticks with rags on it, ऐसे अपने धुन में नाच रहे थे. So the Lord accepted that service as raising a flag in the temple of Vishnu, and they went back to Vaikuntha. So this is by accidental occurrences. A bird which was killed by a hunter was taken up in the mouth of a dog. When the dog ran around the temple, the bird got the result of circumambulating the Lord's temple, not the dog, the bird. And the bird returned to the Lord's abode. In Narsinga Leela, Prahlad Narsinga Leela, who was Prahlad Maharaj? Prahlad Maharaj was a normal person who had an argument with a prostitute on the day of Narsinga Chaturdashi. And arguing with her all day, he neither ate nor slept. And because he accidentally fasted and kept an all-night vigil, he became Prahlad Maharaj in his next life. This is where I read recently. Even I am shocked to hear this, but this is what I have read. So the whole point is bhakti is completely free and independent, just as the Supreme Lord Sri Krishna is. That is the intrinsic nature of bhakti. It has so much power that even if you try to explore it to the maximum degree, you will not be able to understand the power of bhakti. So what stops us from progressing in bhakti? And therefore this, if you read the verse, this verse says, those who continuously hear, chant and repeat your transcendental activities or take pleasure in others doing so. So here there is take pleasure in others doing so. So what stops us in doing that? Envy. Ichha dvesha samukthena dvandva mohena bharat. Ichha and dvesh are the two aspects by which one comes into this material world. And envy occurs because we compare ourselves with others or others with ourselves. It is a fear of losing something that or someone whom we are strongly attached. And that first step of envy is called as jealousy. So when jealousy happens, there is somebody or something you feel that will be taken away from you. And the higher step of jealousy is envy, where you hate somebody or you develop resentment against somebody because that person is better than you or has better qualities than you. His Holiness Radhanath Swami Maharaj says, envy is a very subtle and deep-rooted anartha within our heart. It comes out because we want to be the supreme enjoyer and the controller and proprietor. Therefore, we tend to use any relationship for the purpose of establishing our superiority, no matter what it is in relation to a superior, equal or junior. It is a very intrinsic property of all living entities, because the first thing is we became envious of the Lord and we came down to this material world. So it is very difficult to remove envy or say that nobody is envious. It is not possible. But at least we identify who the enemy is. Bhagavad Gita says, at least you identify who the enemy is, where it stays, how it attacks and how to solve it. At least you should know it theoretically and you can work on it. One more devotee, Srila Prabhupada devotee says, I want to be seen as important and great. And if anyone is a threat to my own egoistic ideas, and there is negativity towards that person. People criticizing others is an exhibition of their envy to God. So envy towards somebody who is better than you is as good as envy to God. So if we have this, at least this basic understanding, at least we will be guarded. All of you know the English word pest. So earlier we described bhakti as a creeper. Bhakti lata bija. So seed of devotion becomes a creeper. So what destroys the creeper is this pest of envy. So hearing and chanting is like watering the bhakti, and entertaining envy in our heart is like allowing pest to come and eat that creeper. So initially we start committing mental offenses towards others, and slowly it may lead to a level where one can be even physical towards another person. Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu taught us 3 principles on the path of bhakti, which are Nam Ruchi, Vaishnav Seva and Jeev Daya. Nam Ruchi, attachment to Lord Krishna's names. Vaishnav Seva, serving others who are attached to the Supreme Lord, and Jeev Daya, helping others and giving them knowledge about Krishna. Envy destroys all these three principles of bhakti. And therefore, it is the test for a sadhaka to judge himself. If somebody wants to know how good a devotee he is, one should not check, अरे मैंने इतना बुक डिस्ट्रीब्यूट किया, या मैं आज अच्छा ड्रेस किया, या मैंने अच्छा क्लास दिया, या I sang kirtan well. Or one should test how much envy is there in my heart. So envy takes 4 types. First step is called khala, where the envy is such that the living entity plans the execution and destruction of other living entities. Dvesha, this envy is dangerous and affects our blood circulation. Internally we boil with anger. Dvesh, that is the dvesh type. We tend to hate the living entity and create enmity for them in our mind. So it starts with khala, where we see that somebody is doing better than us, then we develop dvesh, mental offenses. Asuya is subtle envy, where we keep finding faults with others. वो अगर अच्छा भी कर रहा है, somebody is doing good also, we find faults with, अरे वो actually ऐसा है ना, इसलिए ऐसा कर रहा है, उसको बहुत फेवर करते हैं सब लोग, इसलिए, like that. And matsara, this envy bites. And the 4th type is matsara, which bites everyone without discrimination. So initially you envy a certain person because he is better than you, but then slowly start becoming envious of everybody. And that disease spreads from one person to another person to another person. Why? Because finally you envy the Supreme Lord. But because we are also following the process of bhakti, we do not understand that aspect. So the envy goes towards the Vaishnavas, which is also very dangerous. So how to overcome envy? Develop strong sadhana, and especially japa. Our japa has to be extremely focused. Be satisfied in your sadhana, the service given to you, and the situation of your life. The problem comes when we compare ourselves or compare others with ourselves. Develop the mood of a servant of the servant. Trinadapi sunichena. That is the verse. Never criticize others. Try your best to not criticize anybody. Even for that matter, though even your workplace or your family, don't avoid criticizing others. Genuinely appreciate and glorify others. Today the concept of servant leadership is very, very prominent in corporates. So it is said that a leader is not meant to take service, but to give service. So even corporates today have accepted the concept of servant leadership. And what is that? Genuinely appreciate. Many times we judge others because we work in a certain way, or we have been trained in a certain way, and it may not be possible for us to accept something which is lower standards than what we set ourselves. But as a leader, sometimes everybody can't be on the same page as you, because maybe lack of skill sets, lack of proper exposure, lack of a proper institution, organization, surrounding, whatever, facilities. So a leader has to understand that if I genuinely appreciate somebody, that person will be able to do much more than what he is doing. So therefore, appreciating others is very important. And develop these three types of relationships. Serve those who have superior qualities than you. Be compassionate to newcomers. Give them time. And be friendly to your equals. When you are dealing with your equals, don't show off in front of them that I am doing this, I am doing that, ye, wo. Be equal to your friend. So in this way, these are some of the steps which I could analyze. This will help us to identify envy and overcome envy. So thank you very much. Hare Krishna. I exceeded by 5 minutes. Sorry for that. If there is any question or comments, we can take. श्रील प्रभुपाद की जय, श्रीमद् भागवतम की जय, हरे कृष्ण महामंत्र की जय. All glories to the assembled devotees. Hare Krishna.